Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sunday Brunch. I am your host, Mmmm, and of course, today we have with us Russ Whitfield. Russ, how are you this morning?
I'm great, thanks so much. It's afternoon here. It's a bit grey and miserable, but no, all is good in the little village of Ham, southwest London. So yeah, before we get started, I wanted to do a shout out. Actually, Darth Plato, I think he's in the chat right now, sent me an email a couple of days ago. Dude, I haven't had a chance to get around to watching those shows just yet, but I will. But not so sure how good my advice is it's gonna be. But yeah, I'm happy to do that for you, mate. It's just I've been commissioned to write a treatment for somebody, so that's sort of taking up a little bit of my time at the minute, you know. But email was received, and I'm so sorry I haven't gotten back to you.
Well, good morning to Dark Plato, and good morning to Tom Jr. Jackson. Hi, Tom.
Hey
We
Tom,
are,
how you doing, mate?
we are all good people, Tom, moderator and collaborator. Hope you were well this morning, Tom. God knows you've been burning the midnight oil and then some. And guys, if you do like the show, please like and subscribe. And thanks for being here. Retro Nerd Girls here. Hello, Nerd.
The lovely retro nerd girl.
Now, Retro Nerd Girl and I are going to be covering the Oscars next Sunday. It's going to be an Oscar watch party, the last awards watch party here on Positive Fandom for the year. We've covered the big four, at least the four that I wanted to cover, more or less. But the Oscar watch parties have been, the award ceremony watch parties have been so much fun, Russ. We've had such a great time, and Retro Nerd Girl has been there for quite a few of them. So it's great to see her here this morning. And once again, hello, Darth Plato, guys. I'm going to be streaming with Darth Plato on Friday at 10 a.m. for our series, our historical series, continuing on. So it's good to see you there. Joe Tyson is here.
Big Joe, hey man, always good to see you. Thanks so much for coming through. It's always a delight. I hope you're doing okay, mate.
Absolutely. Good to see you. Joe Tyson says, good morning, and Russ. And Nathan Trujillo is here, says, what's up, everybody?
Hey Nathan.
And Chronicles says, afternoon, all, good morning, depending upon where you
Oh, I
are.
really like Chronicles icon. I don't know what you call them, the little round thing. That looks really cool though.
It does look awesome. It looks like a mask, some kind of a mask.
Looks like Visage, Fade to Grey from 1981.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was. And Stubble McShave is here. Good afternoon, guys. Good
Hey
afternoon,
Stubble.
Stubble. Stubble and I are going to be covering the Wheel of Time, the second season this year, guys. So please, I'm just letting you know, he and I are going to do a recap of season 1 year later. I think
Is
it's
that a good thing or a bad thing? Was it a good season?
I liked it. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought there was a lot of mysticism. There was a lot of fun in it.
Mm.
So yeah, I liked it a lot.
Did
So
Stubble like it? I mean, he's the final arbiter on the Wheel of Time, man.
he is the guru, the go-to man, the PGS expert on Wheel of Time. But Stubble, I think he did enjoy it, and Stubble also has a not just like the show, but he also has ordered a lot of books and things from Wheel of Time based off of Wheel of Time, along with a lot of other science fiction things. So I kind of want to have Stubble work with me on doing kind of a science fiction book or review in addition to Wheel of Time. So that's what he doesn't know this yet, but that's what I have in store for Stubble.
Yeah, yeah. Hold on, hang on. Before we continue with the introductions, I understand that there's things that I've not been aware of. You've been
Oh,
talking to my friend MJ about doing reviews behind my back. What the hell, man?
it's reviews of your book.
I know, right? I found out last night. I was smoking. I was 420 friendly. I was okay. And I came in and MJ's all like, "Oh well, no, I've been talking to Rita and this is what we're gonna do." I'm like, "What WTF, dude?"
Yeah, we are going to be talking about your books extensively, and I think we're going to kind of wrap it in kind of with the Spartacus series that
Mm.
you guys have been watching. And Russ, you've had such high recommendations of it and praise, and almost everybody who's watched it has been saying how amazing it is. And I think it would be interesting to kind of wrap in a series that incorporates both the Gladiatrix series and, of course, the live action Spartacus. So it's something to think about and something I want to do. I'm thinking, PGS moving image
Mhm.
Spartacus renditions of Spartacus and or other types of Roman style live
Yeah,
action
there was one in the 2000s. All right, so you've obviously got the Kirk Douglas one, and you've
shows.
got Spartacus Blood and Sand, and the spin-offs from all of that. But there was one in the 2000s that starred Goran Visnich,
Mhm.
who was one of the hot doctors on ER,
Yes,
and he
because I
was
love
the
him so much.
right, and he was also in Electra Assassin with my friend Natasha.
Mhm, wow.
She's so beautiful,
Who's the
Natasha.
most
Like, hurt your eyes looking at Natasha. Let me tell you. Um, but yeah, he did a Spartacus sort of TV movie because at that time in the 2000s there were lots of them. There was a Cleopatra one with Timothy Dalton. There was a Vercingetorix one with Christophe Lambert. There were all sorts that going around at that time. Anyway, let's continue with the intros.
But it seems to make sense to have a moving image episode on it because it's out now and it's popular. But also, I kind of feel like this is the right time to be addressing that. This is a great time for Spartacus moving image, talking
Well,
about the different renditions of Spartacus in the moving image.
sure, like we said, Stephen DeKnight's doing a new series, so it's timely. It's really timely because the old ones are like 10 years old now, but I mean, the second season or the third part, if you like, but part away from the from the prequel series, it's not as good. But I don't know if it's not as good because you're always looking at the new Spartacus thinking, "Oh, I wish that was Andy Whitfield. I wish that was Andy Whitfield. He was so perfect." And when they're delivering the lines, you can hear Andy Whitfield's voice, and yeah, it's a little bit sad, but it's okay. The second, season two, Spartacus Vengeance is pretty good, but we're not doing that today, are we? Let's continue.
No,
Sorry, I
no, no, no. It's
apologize.
okay. It's sometimes we need to talk about it. And what happens is, you end up talking about it, and different things come out, and it's important to have that process of just talking about. As Darth Vader says, "I am Spartacus."
No, you're not. I am.
So, I put that in there right with my "We are like guns" cheer, which I totally love that
Mhm.
chant so much. So I get passionate about it, but yes, there will be a moving image episode based on Spartacus, and it obviously either in TV and video, any kind of video version of it, Russ. And I sure hope you will want to do that.
Yeah, sure. I love Spartacus. I absolutely love the show. I just think the prequel and season one were just so good, and they were so good for two reasons, and those reasons would be John and Hannah. Like John Hannah absolutely owns those two shows. I mean, Lucy Lawless, Andy Whitfield, yeah, they're all brilliant. But John Hannah absolutely just chews it up. He's fantastic.
Yeah. So what I have those stubbles, and thank you for saying that. What I have in store for Stubble is it'll be kind of like sci-fi books on the PGS. So
Mhm.
he's always getting new books. Stubble's always getting new sci-fi books and things, and he's always asking me, "Have you heard of this series?" And I'm like, "I haven't read it. My brother has that book because my brother has every sci-fi book known to man. So my brother won't do the series. So maybe Stubble will consider doing it." So that was the other part that I was saying. Boy, it's such a great morning to be talking about this stuff. I just get excited even thinking about the shows. I'm like, there's going to be another show. We're going to be talking about this. Like, it gets so exciting for me. Um, Good morning to Stavros.
Hello,
Stavros,
Stavros.
how are you? Stavros says, "Hey, y'all." Um, let's get the knockout coming.
Mhm.
um, Keely Chow is here.
There she is. Hey, Keely, how are you, lovely? It's so good to see you virtually.
Yes. It is great to see you, Keely. Such a pleasure. Roll Tide to you, my dear. Roll Tide. And also, Chronicles mentioned something about, yes, Chief Stubble having a show. Yes, Stubble and I have actually. Oh, he says he likes some bits, dislikes some bits.
Mhm.
Double and I reviewed the entire Wheel of Time first season, and we had preview shows and expectation shows, and like we did a lot of talking about the Wheel of Time. Talked about the books, talked about the adaptation, talked about a lot of things in it. So Stubble and I have talked a lot about the Wheel of Time, and there's so much more to say about it because it is such an incredible series. Yes, he does have a show. Hey, Tom. Tom, it's always great to see you. And Chronicles says, Joe Tyson says, "Oh my, Spartacus, oh my."
Joe. it just seems like, as Robert Meyer Burnett says, you and I just park. Well, we park our chariots in the same chariot bay. That's all I'm going to say. If you're a fan of Spartacus, I don't know, man. Depending on where you are, next time I get out to the United States, which I think is going to be in April, if we're close by, then I hope to take you out for beers and wings, and we can discuss Spartacus in all its glory, especially Katrina Law, who I am crushing so hard on. Like I'd forgotten how much I loved Katrina. Oh my God. Again, she's so lovely. She hurts your eyes. So let us know, Joe, where you are. And if we're close, then we'll do beers and wings.
All right. That sounds like fun, guys. That makes me so excited to hear things like that. Oh boy. Looks like you didn't care for Wheel of Time Chronicles. Yeah, they did change things around. A lot of people did comment on that. They didn't want to bring characters in that would then dip out to the show for 2 or 3 series. Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, they're going to make changes. That was coming, but Amazon lucked out in getting that series because the Wheel of Time was a big deal, and getting that series to be able to make it, I think, what in regards to their production, it looked really good production wise.
Well, it didn't seem to capture the ire that Lord of the Rings got, did
No,
it?
no.
But obviously, I would say obviously, I'm guessing that the Lord of the Rings fandom is bigger than Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. But those books have been on the shelf for as long as I can remember. There must be a huge universe of fans and fan sites and cosplays and all that surrounded by that universe, because it's been going for like mega long, but it didn't seem to attract the hate that Rings of Power got.
It really didn't. But however, anytime a show gets made out of a series, it's a big deal.
Mm,
Now, I don't know what's going to happen in regards to it going forward, but it's huge. Not every series gets made into something like that. A book gets, I mean, it was a long series. It was a substantial amount of episodes. There were a lot of very specific things in the story, for example, that Subble and I talked about. So if you're curious, you can check it out right here on Positive Fandom, our reviews of the Wheel of Time. But Stubble and I will be doing a review of season 1 of Wheel of Time on the Burnettwork, soon to be Imagination Connoisseurs Unlimited, as well as reviewing season 2 on the Burnettwork. So that is coming up soon. But thank you, Chronicles. You make a good point. A lot of people mention that. Jamin D is here.
hey man,
And Joe Tyson says he's down, bro. He's down.
awesome. Let's do it.
Yeah. We park our chariots in the same stable, I think is what you were looking
That's what I
for.
was looking for. Yes.
And I know Robert says we park our shuttlecraft in the same shuttle bay. And of course, my comment would be we go to the same EDM club. So yes, that's right. Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington says live long and watch Positive Fandom. I love that,
All
Gary.
right, gal.
Oh my God, that's so sweet. I really like that. I think that's so cool, Gary. I totally love that so much. And good morning to you, or good afternoon, or good evening, or good night, wherever you are. We also have another comment from Darth Plato who says Spartacus was more intense than it otherwise would have been because the Romans were already committed to a war on 2 fronts. The
Yeah, but
war
also because they were dumb.
the war against Sertorius in Spain and the Mithridates in the east.
Mithridates, yeah. So what he's talking about is what it should say there is a Spartacus revolt. So they were fairly successful against, should we say, lesser Roman soldiers, because the good ones were all off fighting on these 2 fronts, and Spartacus and co were very successful, and they got all the way to the Alps, and the plan was to cross over the Alps and escape, and then they didn't. And they went back in and continued plundering, and then there was an argument, so the Romans say, between Crixus and Spartacus, and the armies split in part, and they were defeated in detail. Spartacus tried to make a deal with the Cilician pirates, and they double crossed him apparently, and he was caught with the heel of Italy's boot and cut off, and eventually, they were all crucified down the Appian Way from Capua, where the revolt started, all the way to Rome, which I marched down for charity a number of years ago, and there's a documentary about it on YouTube, so you can all laugh at me. But yeah, that's why they lost, because when the Romans returned and dealt with them in short order. But they could have escaped, and they didn't.
Thank you very much, Russ.
History nerd, sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just writing down Gary Vandersandwich's "Live Long and Watch Positive Fandom" because I might have to add that to my repertoire of sayings. Vandersandwich, you're wise. You're oh so wise. Saying, I'm adding it to the sensual celestial enchantress of paradise, which
Hmm.
was given to me by Lugnuts. And Russ, you have the madman of the morning, rockin' Russ. Uh, I like all of those comments. I really enjoy you all doing that. It's so much fun. Um, yeah, Chronicles talks about how they missed a section of the books where the dragon met the queen and her daughter. It was a key section of the character development. They also missed, I think, if correct me if I'm wrong, the part where there's a famous scene with a father and son with a horse along the side of a road. It sounds very suspicious, but it's not. Um, Dark Plato says the first season of Wheel of Time had very similar journeys, similarities to The Lord of the Rings. Yes. And Norwegian Kryptonian is here. Hello, Norwegian Kryptonian. How are you? I didn't see you on the member call yesterday, but I hope you're well. At least I think you are the same person I think you are. I hope you're doing well. Maybe you were there and I missed it, but
Me, hope you're doing okay, man.
and oh, thank you, Tom Jr. Jackson. Tom Jr. Jackson says, check out season 1 playlist of Ardham and Stubble McShave's Wheel of Time season 1 review show here, right here on Positive Fandom. That's the YouTube link if you would like to watch it and figure out what we thought about the series. So there, it's there for you. Stavros says, which Spartacus you referring to? The one with Aaron Cummings?
Indeed, I am.
Well, that's wonderful. Stavros, you are on the same page. Yashravastara is here. Hi. Hi, how are you? He says, what's going
Hello.
on, peoples? Yes. Yes, Retro Nurgle, it is a bit of history in the morning. It is a bit of history. We got our coffee and we got our history thing going on. And of course, of course, Russ, you already know. I don't know if you've seen the episode, but I'm can't stop myself from talking about The Mandalorian season 3, episode 1. Have you seen it?
Yes, yes, I have seen it. I watched it this morning.
And what were your thoughts of it?
It, like all Mandalorian episodes, was fine. Absolutely fine. No problems with that. I'm not a massive, massive, massive Mandalorian fan, but I understand it's getting like as I go through my YouTube thing, you know, like the feed, lots of people seem to be hating on it, and I was just like, well, why? I mean, what did you expect from the Mandalorian? I mean, look, it's a complete departure from what they served up with Andor. Obviously, it was always going to be different to that. It was never going to be as deep or as thought provoking and a story of Marxism and all that kind of stuff that Andor was. This is just, you know, gunslinger Mando going round and not doing logical things like the great Carl Weather. Oh, are we allowed to talk spoilers?
Yeah, let's put it up there because I don't want there to be anybody who has not seen it and is expecting let me just hold on one second. Yeah, I actually had it ready. Um I actually already had it ready. So, guys, I have the spoiler thing up there for The Mandalorian season 3, episode 1 spoiler review. We will be talking spoilers in this show about the show. And Darth Plato says, "This is the way."
Mhm.
And Gary Banner Sandwich says, Mando is back and hunting for a space spa to take a bath. You know, I'm still looking for that space spa, Gary. So when you find it, please let me know. I have a feeling it's somewhere on Namos, okay? Or maybe Tassio Moon, who knows? But regardless, I just enjoyed seeing the series. Renz Tolentino says, good morning. Hope everyone's having a great day. Well, good morning to you. And Darth Plato says the Mandalorian is set on easy mode. It really is
It
easy.
really is. That's a brilliant way of describing it. It literally is easy mode. Like I love it. I mean, I can't complain about the show. Yeah, I've got nothing really bad to say about it because it just sort of delivers what you expect from a light, breezy fantasy adventure Star Wars show. I mean, I was watching it and I kept thinking to myself, well, okay, it's kind of so obvious what's going on, you know, like the refusal, you know, he Apollo Creed the great Carl Weathers. I mean, that guy just owns every scene that he's in. I loved watching him in this episode. He was so cool, but he gives Mando like a pretty sweet offer, like, become become the marshal. Forget all of that. And I'd be like, yeah, if it was me, I'd bring up the kid in safety in Navarro, and that'd be that. But of course, Mando doesn't do that, and he goes off, and it's a brisk, what was it, 35 minutes of fun. It was, complete in and of itself, leading on to the next exciting installment. Reintroduced Bo-Katan by the lovely Katie Sackhoff, as always watchable. I think she's really made that role her own. Thought she was great. I thought it was, yeah. I've got no complaint. Well, yeah, I do have one complaint. I would say, I think, as you have mentioned to me, I don't know if we've talked about it on the show, but certainly off the show, the sort of pathos and tragedy of the end of season 2, with him removing his mask and looking upon, letting Baby Yoda, Grogu, look upon his face for the first time, and that massive connection, and we were all crying tears of joy, and Luke Skywalker and everything like that. It somehow cheapens it a little bit to have him back in play episode 1 season 3, when we just lost him episode 13 or 16 or whatever it was of season 2. So it just doesn't pay off. Where's the emotional depth of that? And I think that was a mistake. They should not have brought Baby Yoda back. I mean, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts, are because even as the world's biggest Baby Yoda fan, isn't Baby Yoda going to be a little bit too much, like eating too much chocolate? We're not going to get sick of him after a while, because how long can he go on being cute? For me, it would have been better if they'd have kept him out of the show for a season or something, or a season or two, and then brought him back, because that would have been like a big moment. But here it's kind of like the whole thing on the spaceship at the end with Luke, and then here we are back to the status quo. What do you think?
Yeah, this is a good point. Nathan says, I liked the first episode of the new season of The Mandalorian. It was fun and laid out the players that Mando will have to deal with. Stavros says that Mando Return with a Blast. That's actually the title of Ladies of the PGS, is that Mando comes back with a bang. So yeah, Stavros, I'm on the same wavelength as you. Chronicle says the critics are overthinking it with this show.
Which critics? What Access Media critics, or are you talking about YouTubers and bloggers and so on? I'd be interested to know, because I've seen YouTubers giving it a kick in, and I'm not sure why. I actually haven't watched the review shows, because I only watched The Mandalorian this morning, UK time. So I didn't want to get spoiled. Not that there was a lot to spoil in it, to be fair, but yeah. Sorry, Aram, I just wanted to ask that question of Chronicles.
I don't have time to watch other videos. I work full time, and I also do this full time. And I also take care of my mom, and I do other stuff too. So I don't have the pleasure of being able to watch everybody's reviews. So I don't really know how everybody feels about a lot of these shows. About the only time I ever get a chance to see how people feel is doing a show like this with you.
Mhm.
I do one with Robert, where we talk about how other people feel about different things. But other than that, I don't get a chance to watch anything. So I do.
I listen to them in the gym. That's when I do it. So if I'm running, or if I'm attempting to lift weights, or whatever it is I'm trying to do down there, because I'm still on my body fat challenge, by the way. By the end of the year, I have to get down to sort of 20% body fat. That hasn't been forgotten.
Well, I am on the challenge too, and I have decreased body fat. I actually
Awesome.
have.
Well done to you. I don't know if I have. I'll know by the time I get into the trousers that I want to wear. Then I'll know. But that's when I hear all this stuff. Or I never drive anywhere without listening to a podcast. So that's how I consume it. I haven't often sat down and watched a show like this. Like, I don't often do that. It's more I'll just have it on when I'm driving, when I'm training.
Exactly. And Chronicle says Katie's great in whatever she does.
Isn't she though, Chronicles? Like, she really made a splash in Battlestar Galactica. Then she was in oh, what's his name? Vin Diesel, Riddick 3, which was a great little movie, which never really got the praise it deserved. And then she had this like show on Amazon when Amazon first started doing shows, and it must have been a while ago now. And I think it only went on for one season. It was like obviously it was a science fiction show, and there was like an AI on the ship that was kind of had feelings for her, and that's all I can remember about it. I forget what it was called now, but yeah, she's great. I love her.
She is fantastic, and I think it's great that she started off as the voice actress. Am I correct on that, Russ?
I don't know. I only know she burst onto the scene in 2003 with being Starbuck in Battlestar Galactica.
Well, I believe she got the role as the voiceover actress at first for the Clone Wars, and that's a good maybe 8 or 9 years ago, maybe even longer. And of course, she was able to now have the live action role. So correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I think that was the case. She did a great job with both. And Stavros says Grogu dies in episode 4. At least that's his theory. Again, and Grogu is the Simpsons baby of Star Wars. Yes, Grogu and Din do Disney. They have been doing Disney. Chronicle says YouTubers in anti-Star Wars mode don't really blame them, but like Rob says, you have to be fair. Otherwise, what motivates these people to make good shows? And Mike has bad knees. Hi, Mike has bad knees. Says, I'm very over Grogu. He trained with Luke for 2 years, according to Filoni, and he still comes off as a baby, keeping him on the show strictly for merchandising. Well, yes,
cynical, but probably accurate, I would say, Mike. And that's what I was saying. I don't know. I think how long you've been listening or watching or whatever. But that's, as I say, they should not have brought him back so quick. It just ruins the emotional arc at the end of season 2. But he's great, he's cute, and all that sort of thing. But why? What would? I don't know.
Yeah, and I agree. Stubble says there should have been a narrative purpose for bringing Grogu back, and I agree with that 100%. And I also think that when Grogu uses the Force now, and I'm not talking about when he's spinning himself around in the chair and amusing himself, I'm talking about if he uses the Force against an enemy, there needs to be some serious consequences. Grogu needs to, his actions, because of who he is, need to have more value to them. If he's supposed to be this profound character, I feel like he needs to have more depth to him. And, he needs to use it in a way, or when he does use it, it can't just be sort of like, well, I'm just going to flip, flip balls over here or move around rocks, or, like it can't, there's only so much of that, I think, and the viewer can really take, because it becomes meaningless. So now it does not feel like it's been, I know it's 2 years. It's definitely 2 years. Yes. But to me, it didn't feel like 2 years. And they messed up the show because they inserted the first 2 episodes into the Book of Boba Fett. So had they not done that, they could have said, oh, it's been 5 years. And then we get to see Mando again 5 years later, Grogu 5 years later, versus making this 2 years. They sped up the timeline so it could fit with the Book of Boba Fett easier. Yeah. But I think if they hadn't done that and Grogu just appears, maybe in the next season, season 4, it could have been 5 years later, and it would have made a little bit more sense. Grogu might have been a little more mature, but maybe not. Maybe he wouldn't have been more mature. Who knows how he would have been? But we certainly could have used a little bit of a break and felt that he got what he needed, which was more training. Now he's back, and I just hope they do right by him. I hope they give him something that's, really good storyline. Because this thing where he and Mando are running for their lives, I don't know if that's still, maybe that's why the pirates showed up, because they still have to run for their lives. Maybe that's why they brought IG-11 back, just to show that there's still a protocol out there looking for him. I don't know. But
yeah, I mean, there was lots of nice stuff like that in this episode. I was really made me laugh when all the little salacious crumb creatures were in the tree.
I was so happy they were free.
Sorry?
I was so happy they were free.
Yes. And there's lots of little nods and winks like that going on in that episode, and I think it's great. There's a place for fan service like that, not in Andor. You got to try and find it. You got to look for it, and you got to know what you're looking at in Andor. But this is all fine. And I don't know who said she was brilliant in Riddick. I think it was Chronicle, but yeah, she was. Yes. That's Katie Sackhoff. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Stubble says, I hope Grogu goes evil, but I don't think they dare do that. Yes. Gary Bander Sandwich has the right idea. To be honest with you, I thought what they could have done while Grogu was away from Mando for 5 years, why not have an animated show with Grogu that could have gone on for a long time, and it could be his training with Luke. That could have been a great animated series.
Mm,
And they could have made it for children, and it could have been like, kind of like a GI Joe, where they're like they teach you a lesson or something.
yep.
And each one, I thought that would have been great, because that's what Grogu does need to learn, are lessons about what to do, like not grabbing tiny creatures when he's not supposed to, and all those things, because there's still a whole world he's never seen yet. So he has to learn all that, and it might take him 5 years just to kind of know the basics.
Mm.
Just the basics of what the galaxy is like, because he's kind of been in hiding. He's had kind of a bumpy, history behind him. No, that's gone now. He's got a lot to learn. Grogu, Retro Nerd Girl says Grogu and Din are so very much tied together. I can't imagine the Mandalorian alone. I do agree the show failed to link season 2 with 3. It's like we missed a Phantom season. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Or even if they didn't, like we were saying, maybe they are, joined at the hip. Maybe we do know that he's going to be back, but make us build up some anticipation. There's no delayed gratification of seeing Baby Yoda again. He's just, there he is in the ship. Nothing's happened. It's especially after that climax. I mean, I remember last year raving about it. It was so good. Like, I think, what's his name, Star Wars Theory was burst into tears about it and all that stuff. I mean, it was a huge deal. That whole thing, and it was tragic. It was so sad when he takes his helmet off and all that, and then it's like, yeah, oh well, no, that happened, but don't worry about it.
The other thing too is that I think that what we could have seen is just them FaceTime each other, with the little hologram, and Grogu could be talking to Mando and checking in, but we
Or
didn't.
even Luke, have the Luke hologram, and just checking in, or you could see him playing it back, just Din Djarin,
Deep
Grogu
space message
continues his
for you.
training and everything's okay, that kind of stuff.
Deep space message for you, and then
Yes.
he clicked the button, and then like it pops up or something. Or we like all that nerdy stuff anyway, so we would have loved that stuff, and there would have been a bazillion memes. Although there already have been memes of Grogu, being away at school and writing a letter back to Daddy Mando, and all that good stuff. But it's something to think about. And also, the other thing that I noticed about the show was, while it is true that we did have them come back, and although I don't think I have a picture of it, maybe do I have a picture of it? When they encounter the clan, or some of the other clans, the armory. Yeah, I don't have a picture of it, but when they, I'm really sorry about this. I want to see the picture of him. When they encounter the clan, of Mandalorians, they kind of save him from that crocodile creature. Mando still feels like an outsider, and it is kind of unfortunate that, I don't think he did anything wrong. And this whole kind of idea where he has to go to the waters of, the living waters, and it doesn't exist anymore. And he's like, well, I could find it. And the armorer's like, well, this is the way. And I'm like thinking to myself, no, it's not. Why are you telling him to go on a wild goose chase where he may not find anything? You're not offering to help him. She's still withholding so much information from him. It's like he's not even part of the clan officially, because it feels like all the other Mandalorians know what's going on, and he's the one who's really very much on the outside, who's not, really a part of this whole thing. And I don't even know whether he really wants to be still a child of the Watch. He could join some other Mandalorian clans and still be a Mandalorian. So, I think it's very interesting going forward looking at this, because I question, why is it so important for him to stay with that particular group, knowing that there are other ones out there? And maybe what happens is, through this season, he finds the other clans and saying, yeah, there's a lot of clans. Screw the Children of the Watch. I'll go join this clan. But Katie Sackhoff, as Bo-Katan, that character has not necessarily provided the most welcoming clan experience for him either.
Well, she's pissed because he's got the dark saber, and that's what she says. She says, like, if you still, when I return without the dark saber, everybody left.
True.
So she's got the ump about that. But I think what you said there, Oram, is absolutely correct, that he says, I'm here to join your clan, and she's like, oh, what clan? But like he said, well, great, I've got the dark saber, then let's form a clan, and that would be that. Or he could have stayed with Apollo Creed on Navarro and become the marshal. And there's so many things that he could and perhaps should do, but because the plot has to happen, he doesn't. And that's I can't think of any other compelling reasons as to um why he would do it. But I just don't think the Mandalorian has that much thought put into it, and nor should we put this much thought into it. In some ways, this is kind of like, it's kind of like fast food for me. The Mandalorian, I love it, and I'm not going to sit there and wonder about the Mandalorian in the way that I sat there and wondered about Andor.
No, and of course, The Mandalorian is not the best show that's ever been written. It might be one of the most popular shows, but it's not, in my opinion, the best show out there. However, it's my favorite show. So there is that. But the other
I'm
thing I was going to
sorry,
say,
my daughter's texted me
here,
twice. I don't know why. Forgive me for a second.
no worries, no worries. The other reason why I find things so interesting with Katie Sackhoff's character Bo-Katan is because when she talks about how everybody kind of left because she didn't have the dark saber, my thought is like, well, clans stick together. They don't care whether you have a weapon or not. So I wasn't that enthused about her clan, because maybe she doesn't even have clan members anymore. Maybe it's just her. Maybe she's the only one left in the family line. I don't know. But I think it's Clan Kreese. I thought that they should have still had her back, even though she didn't have the dark saber.
Right.
And the other thing that I was going to say is that she's kind of lost her mojo. And I kind of made a joke about, will Bo-Katan get her Mandalorian mojo back this season? She's going to follow Din. She's going to follow him.
I could help Kate Sackhoff with that. I mean, like show me the way to become. Is that the way? Is that the way? This is the way. That's my way. I'm there for it.
She's going to follow Din. It's obvious she's going to follow him, even though she's kind of sitting there like she's not going to do anything. She's going to follow him and be kind of behind him as he's going off to Mandalore. But I think she hopes he gets killed somehow and she can grab the darksaber, because she hasn't challenged him yet necessarily in a fight about it, or at least not that we're aware of. She doesn't want to challenge him to this fight. And I think
I remember it distinctly from the end of season 2. She was having that conversation. I need the darksaber. You're the leader now. And he goes, great, I yield. Here you go. Right. Says, no, it has to be in combat, but
yes. So what she could have done in order to get it, if there's no big great battle going on, they could have a duel and she could challenge him for the darksaber that way. But she didn't do that. And so my question is, why didn't she do that when clearly Paz Vizsla, who is very aggressive towards him, wanted to and kind of did challenge him for the darksaber? So why was Paz Vizsla ready to challenge him? But Bo-Katan, who claims she needs this sword so desperately, doesn't. It kind of is a little weird. There might be something else to it. I know she feels a little embarrassed about losing the darksaber a few times, or taking it when she shouldn't have. So perhaps she feels, that she has to treat everything very carefully. And Din kind of coming into this has really ruined things for her in regards to what her next.
Yeah, but are the rules that, the person... No, the rules can't be the person has to kill the other person. Right?
No, it's not kill, it's defeat.
Defeat. So, right. Yeah. So you should just challenge him and he should go, oh, dropped it. Oh, I give up. There you go. There's your darksaber. And that's the end of it. And then she's won it in a duel. But again, that's the obvious solution, isn't it? And I just don't think, why didn't Bo-Katan and Din Djarin come on? Well, let's pretend to have a fight. Make it look good. Yeah, all right. Oh, there you go. You've won. I give up, and show me mercy, etc., etc. I just don't think we're supposed to think about it that deeply. This is like a comic book for young teenagers, and I'm enjoying it.
But then, if that's the case, so let's say that's true. They can't really fight each other. They don't have a beef with one another. Mm-hmm. So then what should actually be happening is that the people who believe in Bo-Katan, if there's anybody out there who does, should just support her as the leader. And, she shouldn't be kind of sitting there looking all lonely in her palace. That looks quite grim and sad. And, like she's ready to put that helmet on and like go to battle right now. Like she sits around in her armor. You know, I sit around in like a t-shirt and shorts. She sits around in her armor, Russ.
Mhm.
I love it. I love it. She's just like, yeah, I'm just hanging around the palace in my full gear. You know, it's like it's so amazing. But yeah, I enjoyed this episode very much. I did enjoy the idea that you know, Mandalorian is not going to stop. He's not going to settle down. He's going to keep searching. He's going to keep going forward. But I think the reason why this IG-11 thing came up is because there will still be bounty hunters going after Grogu. So,
Mhm.
but let's see what happens in the next episode. Um, um, let's see. Nathan says he was surprised they didn't include Luke asking Grogu to choose between staying for. Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point.
They could have milked that, Nathan. That would have been the ratings would have gone through the roof. And yeah, the salacious crumb creatures. I think they're monkeys. I can't remember what kind of monkey it is, but Catherine Catherine Cook told me what kind. Micah's bad niece says the idea of making them like GI Joes is cringy because it would be Disney throwing in whatever they want. But that's true.
That's kind of true.
Stubble says one. Oh, Rogue Thinker says, "Oh, hi, Rogue Thinker."
Hey,
That
Rogue.
the Naboo fighter still makes no sense for Mandu. And I agree. I think there's not enough room in it. One really cool thing that we saw, I don't know if I have it. I don't have a picture of it here, Russ. Was that we did see the Purgles while they were in hyperspace, but I don't have a picture of it.
Yeah, I see. I'm not that much up on Star Wars. I was wondering what those things were. What were they? In that you could see like the whale creatures that you couldn't really make them out.
Yes, and apparently maybe only Grogu can see them, but um, they are they are creatures, whale-like creatures that can travel at the speed of light.
Hmm.
And they
Is there a reason for them being around, or?
well, yes, because in Rebels, Ezra, who is a yeah, he's a Jedi. He asked them to help him to fight against Thrawn, Grand Admiral Thrawn,
Hmm.
and they did help him, but the only way to help Ezra was to bring him to a place that was so far away that no one could find Ezra or anybody else.
Right.
So Ahsoka and Sabine Wren have been looking, or at least in one of the episodes of the final episode, they were looking for Ezra to see if they could find him. And ironically, Grogu, while in hyperspace, just while the Mandalorian's kind of like sleeping because he's exhausted from all this stuff,
Hmm.
um, he notices the Purgles traveling in hyperspace, and they're enormous. They're huge creatures. So
Right.
I was not expecting to see that in hyperspace or
I think Rogue is absolutely correct though. He does need a sort of Millennium Falcon size ship as
yes.
opposed to a tiny little starfighter. I mean, I can't imagine sitting in this chair here or sitting in my car for like 4 weeks or however long he's in hyperspace for. It just doesn't make any sense. They need to sleep and they need to pee and all the rest of it. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right there, Rogue.
Yeah, I get muscle cramps. I get muscle cramps.
Hmm.
It make me very uncomfortable. Um, Stubble says, and it's covering your face. I'm sorry. One positive thing having Grogu back with Din is that it serves as mechanisms to relay essential information to viewers. It's a legitimate way of telling the viewers what's happening because only Grogu has access to certain information. So by showing Grogu, Dim Jaren, by showing Grogu what Grogu sees and what Din doesn't see, it is important to the viewer.
Yeah, but
Um,
I think what Stubble is saying is it's sort of narratively.
yeah,
So Grogu is our eyes into that universe. So that's why he's explaining to him, for example, about the hyperspace and what the buttons mean and what the screens mean and all the rest. I get it, but I just think Grogu should be more than a narrative device, especially after the big deal they made of him, of their parting in the end of season 3. And you know what? Maybe he could have been on another mission in a bigger ship, as Rogue is suggesting. With somebody else that he can explain. It's been 2 years. Maybe he's transporting away from somewhere to the other, or a prisoner, or a partner, or a traveler, or whatever, and could explain things like that. I just think, but we may get Baby Yoda fatigue.
well, I also think that Bo-Katan is looking at Din and she's heard, she Bo-Katan is one of those characters in the story that knows more. She knows more. So she's not a character who's in the universe who's ignorant, so to speak. She's not ignorant. She
She
knows a
drinks and
lot.
knows things, right?
Well, she does, because remember, she was involved in the fall of Mandalore.
Mhm.
She was one of the people who was there and involved in that whole debacle. But what I'm really trying to say is that she's quite well informed. She knows all about Grogu now.
Mhm.
She knows everything. She knows all about the Jedis. She knows it all. So there isn't anything that she is unaware of. And she also realizes that the value of what he has with Grogu as well. So there's a lot of resentment towards Din in regards to like having this companion that can do these incredible things. She doesn't have any Jedi friends anymore, right? I mean, if you know what I mean.
Mm.
I don't think they have her back either. I don't think anybody has Bo-Katan's back. So it's very interesting to see her in the state. Darth Plato says if Bo wants the dark saber, then she should try and take it.
Well, as I say, as we were saying, Darth, it just doesn't add up. If they have to have a duel, then have a duel. And he's just like, yeah, yeah, well, you won.
Well,
Shame.
stop. Stavros, the answer to your question here is who wants to wield a saber? It's good. It's Paz Vizsla, Heavy Mando. He wants it. He's the one who challenged Din to that saber in the last season, and he's going to challenge Din again. He will challenge him. In fact, he's the person who got into a fight with Din in season 1 over the amount of Beskar he had collected, because they had this communal thing going. It's like a cult where he brought in all that cash from that Beskar, and he's like, kind of bumping armor with him and chest butting him for no reason. But
boys will be boys, Arum.
Well, Paz Vizsla, it's his ancestor Tar Vizsla who made the dark saber. So by right, he's looking at it as if this is his family heirloom.
Yeah,
more
that's
than
right.
else. So yeah, and but let's see. Gary says we have the Book of Boba Fett. Where is the guide to me and Mandalorian? Maybe this is the Book of the Mandalorian. Or I always felt like Andor was the book that we always wanted, because there's an actual book in Andor, the manifesto. That's a book. So I'm like, oh yeah, they mixed up the names and stuff. Plato says, I suspect the Mandalorian duels are to the death unless this is a good question. I have no idea, Darth Plato. I don't know.
Well, that's kind of the point, isn't it? If they're in a battle circle, then like I say, it's such an obvious thing to do. Okay, cling, cling, cling. Oh, dropped it. Oh, give up. That's what you do, because he clearly doesn't give a shit about it. He doesn't want to be the leader, and Bo-Katan does. It's daft, but who cares?
I wouldn't they surprise us with Din now being able to wield it, and we don't know. He's been trained by Luke. Wouldn't that be a shocker? Tom Jr. Jackson says, for a short episode, it packed a big punch, and I liked it.
It packed a lot in. It did pack a lot in, Tom. Actually, it really set things up. As somebody else was saying earlier on, it sort of gave us, right. Okay, so now we know who the adversaries are probably going to be for this episode. We've been introduced to most of the key players. The pirate captain, the pirate flunky, Bo-Katan, Apollo Creed. They're all there. And they explained away Cara Dune, which I was surprised that they addressed, but they addressed it, which was nice for lore completeness. Like, we know she's gone off to the special forces. Fine, we'll never see her again, but at least we know what happened to Cara Dune.
Absolutely. And there is a lot of speculation about her returning, and yeah, they could bring her back.
Is there really?
Yes, there has
But
been
Gina?
a lot of speculation.
No,
not Gina Carano, the character Cara Dune, returning into the series somehow. They could recast her. Now I don't know what Gina Carano would do. I mean, if they offered her enough money, she might take it. But there's no reason they didn't kill. You see, they could have killed off Cara Dune character, but they chose not to. So they keep. I think someone was saying if they wait another 2 or 3 years, they could just bring back another actress to play that role.
What, like Ronda Rousey? Bring her in.
I have no idea how. I would have recommended one other actress, but she's already in The Mandalorian. She's I can't remember. It's not Katie O'Brien, is it? But she was in Quantumania, and she played an officer in season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Quantum Failure, as it's now been called from certain places.
Yeah. But she was the one good thing in the story. As for me, I felt like she was very strong, like when she was running around in that movie. So Darth Plato says the U.S. Army Field Manual once put in bold letters, "Don't bring a knife to a gunfight."
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
Sean Connery says in The Untouchables, right?
exactly. And Stavros says that the space whales are the coolest flyers. At least I think that's what it says. Space whales from the cartoon series live in a different dimension. Yes, Gary. And I would say that honestly, um, hyperspace is a different dimension to me. I don't know. I don't know if it's true physics. I don't know if you in the world of physics, whether traveling at the speed of light is traveling at a different dimension or not. Who knows? Sorry, I don't
Well,
have
that
an answer.
I do. Theoretically, you'd have to, right? If you were going to make it, if it was going to be a useful thing, it'd have to be transdimensional. Because if it was not, even if you were traveling at the speed of light, by the time you went to Earth, or from where, if you went to Earth from Krypton, let's say, millions of years would have passed on Krypton by the time you got back to it. So in order for that to be successful, you have to bend space and turn up instantly in an interdimensional portal. That's what they say, but that's why these UFOs apparently keep blinking in and out, because it's transdimensional, according to, I forget his name, Stephen, Dr. Stephen somebody or another. He's big into the UFO stuff, and I watch a lot of his things. Stephen Greer, and he says it's transdimensional as opposed to literally traveling from A to B, because that, even if possible, it, by the time you get back, your world could have been dust for millions of years. So, kind of makes sense to me.
Exactly. And yes, you're right, Darth Vader. They haven't done justice for Thrawn, especially those books that everybody just lauds about so much.
Even I read those. Even I wanted him to win.
You read, you read,
Yeah,
you
I'm
read
kind of
this
on the
book?
side of the Empire. I kind of, I thought their aesthetic was so cool, and I liked Darth Vader, and I
You never
liked Darth
said you
Maul.
read those.
Pardon?
You never mentioned you read those.
Yeah, God. Well, yeah, back in the '90s or whenever it was. I mean, I'm an old man. I remember reading Heir to the Empire and all that when it came out. So yeah.
And Gary says that the episode 2 trailer is out to view. Um, and people are saying, yeah, he's 55. He should have learned a lot more, even if he looks like a baby. Yeah,
Well,
maybe.
this is it, Rogue. Right? This is what we were saying. I mean, Aram is the world's biggest, baby Yoda fan, right? But I said to her, I don't know if you were on for that. Isn't baby Yoda going to get a little bit like chocolate, like too much chocolate? Like you've got the fucking after eights in front of you, and you're eating them, you're drinking the red wine, and you're starting to feel sick. But after eights are so Moorish, you're going to eat the whole packet, and then you think, oh, geez, I shouldn't have had the whole packet. And that's my fear with Grogu.
Yeah, it is a big problem. And, also, I'm not happy that we just still don't have a Mandalorian video game by now. I think that we need something, like Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor or something like that
Hmm.
with the Mandalorians, or even just a straight up Mandalorian video game, something new, guys, a brand new. Why not make one called the Siege of Mandalore, or the Night of a Thousand Tears, or whatever? Give us something cool like that, so we can at least learn a little bit more about the clans, because that was the thing. One of the things I liked about the show was that we got to see all the different, maybe it wasn't a whole bunch of different clans, but we got to see some of Mandalorian culture when the ceremony, and that was fun. Like, it was fun to see that stuff. We don't see very much of it, even though the show is called The Mandalorian. In fact, what we mostly are seeing is a Mandalorian who's kind of like being ostracized out of his own group. And I'm referring to Din,
Hmm.
by the armorer. I really want to find out who this woman is. There's a reason why the children of the Watch keep their helmets on, because they don't. Honestly, I think it's because they don't want anyone to know what their identity is. That's how I feel about it, Russ. And I can understand why they feel that way. Um, uh, Darth Plato, make Mandalorian more like Spartacus, as Robert say. There's not enough fucking.
I
Okay.
tell you what, in the prequel, Gods of the Arena, it's essentially, it's just soft core. Like I've said this before, it outdoes Strike Back in 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 that uh, in
But
that
Grogu has
department.
become corrupted. He's virtually, well, he's not innocent. Grogu is not innocent. He's mischievous. He's just not letting you see what he can do. Darth Plato says, like, Anakin, Grogu's a slow learner. And Stubble says, I hope Din doesn't have the runs after a bad meal while traveling a couple of days in hyperspace.
Right, Stubble. Right, this is what I'm saying. Give him a Millennium Falcon style ship, what they can move around in. They can sit down and play that chess game that they can. Just it just seems a little bit, I don't know, small, as you were saying.
Retro Nerd Girl says Grogu has come a long way. He started out as a cute MacGuffin. Now he's a character. There's so much room for him to grow to become a Mandalorian himself.
Do you think so, Retro? I mean, I haven't seen it. He's just still sort of being cute and mischievous and using the Force to knit sweets. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not a huge into the lore or anything like that, but he seems to have been unchanged from 2 to 3 so far. I mean, look, we're one episode, half an hour in. I mean, who knows? He could turn into as somebody was saying earlier on, like a dark Sith Grogu or whatever. But I doubt it. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he will yet. He hasn't been exposed to enough to know. Someone has to show him the dark path. Rogue Thinker says it seems like getting the Darksaber has to be earned. Getting it from a fake fight would make an unworthy fight and an unworthy leader. They should try to follow Mando.
So fake the fight.
You know something, Rogue Thinker, I think that makes sense, but I also don't think that Din is the best Mandalorian either. I think Boba Fett is. I think everybody should be following his example. He's somebody who I personally feel is one of the most significant, let's say, guy who claims not to be a Mandalorian, but is a Mandalorian for me. I think everybody should be following his example, but that's okay. Maybe you're right. Rogue Thinker, you may be right. Maybe Din is actually a character who isn't showing us everything about himself and will at some point show us that he really is, the most incredible Mandalorian. I don't know, but I just have to look at it from that point of view, because Din keeps a lot of stuff to himself as well. He has no choice. That's how the Watch has kind of treated him, and therefore he's that type of a character. That's how I see Din, truth be told. Tom Jr. Jackson says the only other person I could have seen play Cara Dune was former wrestler China. Sure.
Well, you know what, Tom? I'm happy to see some fan casting for Cara Dune, because I'm sick of seeing bloody fan cast for Superman. That's for sure. So yeah, we can do a bit of Cara Dune fan casting. Why not?
And this is covering up your face, so I apologize. It says a very fast spaceship is a time machine to the future, 5 years on a ship traveling 99% speed of light, 2.5 years out and 2.5 years back corresponds to roughly 36 years on Earth.
Yeah,
no,
but that's only 2 light years.
Yes, that's okay. I'll pass.
How far is the center rim to the outer rim? How many light years is that?
It's a good question. I don't even want to know I'm traveling at light speed. Put me under stasis. Wake me up in 50 years. And if you have a stasis container that makes me younger while I'm sleeping, I take that too.
I'll take that all day long.
But thank you, Norwegian Kryptonian, for that incredibly informative.
He's quite correct. But the galaxy's vast. And time dilation's a thing. So yeah.
And Gary Banner Sandwich says only Mando's bath time fun. Oh yeah, that's what I would call that little encounter at the water. Certainly was very interesting to see that, and it was great to see them flying around. But something, if someone had asked me the flying around for the Mandalorians, I wouldn't have said it was fighting the croc creature. Maybe a fight or a battle. That's what I might have expected to see.
I remember something from my childhood watching that battle. I used to have a little book on dinosaurs, and there was a dinosaur that I loved, and he was kind of like a tortoise. He was kind of flat dinosaur, and he had like a tail and his tail was a club. And that dinosaur that they fought was like, it had that little dinosaur's body and a Tyrannosaurus Rex head. But it was that dinosaur with the club tail. I'm sure they based it on that, because it looked like a T-Rex head to me anyway. But the body was certainly the one with the clubby tail.
Well, it's Mando wishes, Grogu dreams, and dinosaur memories. In the episode, Thalia Meyer says, "Happy Sunday, everyone."
Hey.
Hi, Thalia. How are you? There are series that the armorer may be the big baddie. That would break my heart a little. I love her so much. Yeah, I don't think she's Sabine Wren. I don't think she is. I think she's some other character from Death Watch, Retro Nurgle. I think she was originally in Death Watch, and then she became part of Children of the Watch. I think there's 2 separate groups, guys. And she hid out after the collapse happened because As Bo-Katan said, it was all the different factions that caused this, but honestly, Bo-Katan was right in the middle of it all, and she was the number one instigator, in my opinion, because she went against her own sister. Talking about being disloyal, even if she had a difference in opinion, I don't think I would have gone, into battle against my own sister in a sense that way. I would have supported her. I would have supported the peace and gone with it. Even though, I may not have fully believed that that's the path for Mandalorians at that moment. And maybe it wasn't, but I don't think I could have gone against my sister like that. That's just me. That's just me. But thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I'm not going to say the PORN word, Darth Vader, because once we do that, this is a completely different show. Um, Observers' perception of time and time are different. Yes, it certainly is. And that's why it's so important when Grogu travels through hyperspace, it's a completely different experience for him than it is for Mando. And we can see that. Unless maybe they're saying that you can see the Purgils, but no one's awake to watch it. No one's watching hyperspace. I have no idea. This is completely new. The tech must be faster than light. Otherwise, it would take infinite energy to travel at the speed of light, according to relativity. Yes, hyperspace travel. Absolutely.
Right.
Yep. And you know what? I want to sleep through all of it. I don't want to know any of it. I just want to go to sleep and wake up and I'm there. That's what, in fact, I wish travel was like that now.
Mhm.
You just kind of get on the plane. Oh, we're here. Oh, great. Wow. That was a great trip.
Kind
Yeah.
of is like that for me. I've got no trouble sleeping on planes, to be honest with you. Like, a lot of people do have a problem with it. I don't. It's always like traveling to the United States. I just bite down on the gum shield and don't sleep, and just power my way through till 10 o'clock. Because you kind of leave here at 10 o'clock in the morning. You get to America at lunchtime, and then
Yes.
you've got to stay up another sort of 8, 9, 10 hours until 10 o'clock at night or whatever it happens to be. Then I crash out, and then there's no jet lag. And coming back, I know it sometimes costs a little bit more, but if I can afford it, I'll always get a night flight, and then I'll just have a glass of wine, next some Valium, and fall asleep for 3 or 4 hours, and I'll wake up at 7 o'clock and I'm back in England.
Well, it sounds like
So
you.
it's Russ in hyperspace, wine and
Yes,
Valium. There you
that's
go.
I love it. Retro Nerd Girl says the creators have confirmed that Grogu will speak this season, so that could help us see Grogu differently. He's been traumatized, so that could impact his development. He has been traumatized, and don't you just, and you don't want to, nobody wants to, but don't you just want to give him a little hug and make sure he's okay? All right, I said it. I said I had to get it out of my system.
Uh-huh. Well, that's interesting, Retro, because if he speaks, then that gives a whole new, as you say, a whole new dimension to that character. I wonder if he'll speak in, will he have the backwards Yoda dialect? I don't know. We shall see. But thank
I
you for
hope
that.
not. I hope not. And there's no reason why he should, although Yoda probably did train him. It seems to make sense that he would have done that. But I hope he has a very. I hope he sounds like a kid.
Well,
And not
Yoda can't have trained him. Yoda's dead, isn't he?
when he was in the Jedi Temple, Yoda was still alive.
Oh God, yeah, because he's 50 years old. No, you're right.
Yeah. So he said he's had many masters, but I have a feeling Yoda did train him once or twice. So yeah, but I hope he does not have that speech. But it would seem a lot of people would say, well, yeah, it would make sense that we would have it. I don't know. Yaddle didn't speak like that. In the series, at least the Tales of the Jedi that we saw, and when she was on the Jedi Council, I don't think she spoke at all. This is a good question. I have no idea. Yeah, he'll speak normally. Good, thank you. Yeah,
Look
he'll
at Retro with all the hot takes over here. Like, she knows she's got her finger on the Grogu. Are you guys going to fight over Grogu fandom? I mean, I'm getting worried now because like Retro seems to know all the stuff here. Or I don't even know what's going on.
she does, and thank you, Retro Nerd Girl, for sharing all that stuff. I do appreciate it. Stubble McShay says, I wonder if some bad reviews is partly because of its ties to Boba Fett. Many really dislike that show. Yeah,
I
maybe.
don't know, man. I mean, I haven't watched them, but I can understand why some series get hate. Like She-Hulk got hate. Thelma's getting hate because of all sorts of reasons. But Mandalorian is just all right. It's so inoffensive. It's not bland. It's exciting and it's fun and it's good and it's got Apollo Creed in it and everybody loves Apollo Creed and all that stuff. What's in there to upset you? I mean, we're kind of picking over the bones of it. Oh, well, maybe Baby Yoda shouldn't have come back. But as we, or as not we, but as I keep returning to, it's not asking you to really think in the same way that Andor is. It's just not. It's just like, oh, it's Apollo Creed with the blaster. Oh, he's so cool. It's Apollo Creed doing cool stuff. It's Din Djarin doing cool stuff. Oh, look, there's Katie Sackhoff on the throne. Oh, I love it. I love all that stuff. But I don't think we've spent a long time talking about the sort of mechanics of hyperspace travel, and it's kind of like, no, he just gets in the ship, and it takes as long, right? It takes as long for him to get there as it needs to take. I think that's kind of how it works with the Mandalorian. Like if it takes 3 weeks, it's because it needs to have some time, and if it needs to be tomorrow, he's there by tomorrow.
Yes, and Retro Nurgle says we band together. We're not Mandalorians.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah, there is that. Certainly, Grief Karga made quite an impression in the episode. He was selling timeshare. He went from selling bounty jobs, to selling timeshare, more or less, or whatever it is, a land property. He can make you a great deal. It was just Navarro has been rebranded, as I like to say. It's no longer what it used to be. It looks really good. Yeah, I think that might be a place that he could settle in. But gee, what does a Mandalorian do if he doesn't fight on Navarro?
He'd be the marshal. He'd be a keeper of the peace. But I just have to say, I love Carl Weathers, man. He has just been such a gift to us over the years. Apollo Creed, Dylan, Action Jackson. Now he's in this. I just love him. I think he's brilliant.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And of course, seeing him walk around, everybody's wondering if there's going to be an Action Jackson part 2. And of course, a lot of people are asking, where is the Grief Karga 1/6 scale figure? Especially since he comes out looking all fine and refined like this in this episode, where he just looks amazing. And
He does.
you almost get a sense that this is what he's always hoped for. But, he had to work with what he had to work with because of the place Navarro was at the time.
It's kind of like Lando. He sort of, the whole sort of arc is very similar to sort of Lando's, and now he's an administrator. You know what I mean? But he's done this by his own hand. I hope he exists as a side character and doesn't have all of this taken away by the Empire. Like he says, or the New Republic. Like he says, like I don't want to literally trade one far off administration for another. Like he wants to keep it independent, and I hope he does. We love you, Carl.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly, we don't want to see him lose a lot of what he's gained. There was something else I wanted to say, and I can't remember what it is about this character. But oh yes, Carl Weathers is also distinguished himself as being a director of some of the episodes, from what I understand.
Right. Well, what a great guy he is. I love him.
He's amazing, and he adds a lot of realism to the show and to the story. Navarro feels like a real place because of him.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think that he really does sell the place into making it, seem like a place you would want to live now. When he shows up, when the Mandalorian shows up, they're like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "I'm here to see a friend." And they're like, "Okay, well, welcome to Navarro." Like it does sound like a place I'd want to visit.
Almost like it's a reflection, and I wouldn't say of Grief's personality, but it's almost like Carl's own personality. Like he strikes me as that sort of like, booming voice, kind of happy-go-lucky guy, So I don't know. It's great. I love him.
And Thalia says, I would not say they hate the episodes. They're just disappointed because their expectations were not met. Maybe after a long period of time, it's been 2 years, right, Thalia? It's been 2 years, guys, since we've seen the Mandalorian season 3. And remember, they had to change it because they changed the Book of Boba Fett and it changed the Mandalorian.
I see. Because Thalia, what I would say is, I don't know if you were here for this bit, but I haven't watched any of those reviews, so maybe I've just been swayed by the title of the video, because apparently if you're a YouTuber, in order to get lots of clicks, you have to make a shocked face and have some really strong headline with caps in it, like Mando season 3 is awful, and and someone going, oh. So that's all I've seen in my feed so far.
Yeah, I as I said, I don't watch a lot of the other reviews, only because of time restrictions.
Mhm.
But I was unaware of how generally people are receiving it. And sometimes they'll say whether it was positively or negatively received. I'll hear about it. But Dark Plato says Navarro, at least it's not Tatooine.
Mhm.
Yeah, I really think that's funny. That could be their advertisement there. Um, so yeah, so I personally loved the episode, Russ. I was just looking on my notes to see if there's anything else I want to say about it before we wrap it up because we've been waiting so long for this season. I can't even believe it, that we even got it. But honestly, it doesn't feel like 2 years. That was about the only other thing that I would say. And I don't believe that, I guess we're supposed to not believe that Mandalore is poisonous because he wouldn't be taking Grogu there if he believed it. Um, and also, I don't know, even if he does find out stuff at Mandalore, whether he will be welcomed back into Children of the Watch. I
Who
don't.
knows or dares to dream, and that's what season 3 is gonna tell us.
Mhm, mhm. And, um, what else was I gonna say? That's everything. I think that's everything. Yeah, it's a very interesting episode. We only have a few more days till the next one, and I've been
Mhm.
doing live watch parties at 3 AM in the morning, God help me.
You're nuts. You need to stop doing that. You literally need to stop doing that
I'm
because
gonna stop
who
doing
no,
it
no, no, no,
after
come on,
Picard.
RM. Who drops a show at fucking midnight in the middle of the week, and who's going to be up watching it? I think you should just do it the next day, or just catch up with it on a Saturday or something like that. Your work
It is
gonna
true,
tell
and
you off.
I'm just gonna do that for Picard season 3, which is up to episode 3, and for Mando season 3,
Hmm.
ironically. And that's it. And I'm not gonna do any more live 3 AM watch parties because I can't take it anymore. But I can't do it anymore. And it's in the busiest day, which is a Wednesday, which is like one of my busiest days, goes into Wednesday, Thursday. It's really breaking
I'm
up.
sure your viewers would understand if you drew a line under that and said, look, I've got a day job, but that's just me. I wouldn't do it. 100%, I wouldn't do it. I'd be like, no.
Well, I committed only to these 2 and then that's it. And then the other ones I'll watch at a later date. So I'm not, but I
Well,
was
sure,
just,
but it's still 3 o'clock in the morning, twice a week.
it is
Hey,
horrible.
it's
It's horrible.
crazy.
Yeah, it's killing me. But I think this was a good start for them. I think that
Mm,
the show is going to be a success. I don't know what the viewership numbers are like, but I have a feeling that the show is going to be a huge success for them. So they've got to be happy with it. And of course, I think that it's been fun to kind of see everybody, the whole crew back again, and
mm.
the Mandalorian. At least that's how I look at it. Yeah. So all the usual suspects.
So away from the Mandalorian, have I got a story for you?
What is it?
Okay. Well, we've had all of this talk recently about James Gunn and the DC extended universe and Henry Cavill and all of this, and how James Gunn's cherry picking his favorite bits and slapping us Snyder Bros in the face, or Zachalites as I like to call us, in the face. Well, you were talking about other YouTubers a little while ago. There's one YouTuber who's taken it upon, a guy called Aaron Fisher is his name, and it's out there. This is no gossip and no bad talk
Mhm.
about anybody.
And hello, Luminara 843, and welcome.
Hey, Luminara. Um, yeah, this guy is a YouTuber. He's not a diehard Snyder fan, right? He is a diehard Snyder fan. He's now trying to sort of say that he's not. He's a DC fan, but he is a diehard Snyder fan. Is looking to sue Warner Brothers Discovery,
Yes, 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 yes,
right?
yes.
So I don't know if anybody in the chat knows about this, and if you do, I'll shut up. But
I know about this story, Russ. Can you believe it?
yeah, how do you know?
Because I heard someone talking about how the guy claims that they didn't get what they were promised
Yes.
from
So
Cat.
what happened was a couple of months ago or a little while ago, there was a ruling in LA County. Somebody tried to sue Universal for, all right, Big Joe, I'm getting to it. I'm getting to it, man.
For bad advertising or
False advertising.
false advertising. Yeah.
And the point was the judge passed it. The case was allowed to proceed. So the thrust of this guy's argument is as follows. In the run up to Black Adam, all the rumors were about Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill's coming back. Henry Cavill's coming back. Confirmed by The Rock pre Black Adam coming out. Confirmed 100% on release day. The fucking internet went insane. Henry Cavill's back. Fast forward a couple of days, 2 days later, Cavill's on Instagram. Yes, I'm back as Superman. Enter James Gunn as head of DC Studios. No, you're not. And everyone, or some people are pissed and some people aren't pissed, and all of that. Fast forward a couple of months, 2 months or a month, James Gunn comes out on Twitter when asked a question, because he's very active on Twitter, and says, oh no, I was writing Superman Legacy 6 months ago. So they've looked at that, and I thought, if you were right, if from the date of that to that, if you were employed by Warner Brothers 6 months ago to write a Superman project, that would have put you roughly in August of last year, right? At which point, none of this was known. I'm getting to it, Stavros. I'm getting to it. Yeah. So you knew 6 months ago, Warner Brothers, James Gunn, that your new Superman Legacy film would not feature Henry Cavill.
So then why did you advertise him?
So why did you advertise it? And why did you have Henry Cavill come out? And why did you get us to go and spend our money watching the film? Some people over and over and over again to support the. And The Rock said it was phase 1 of the DCU. This was it. And then you turn around and you put the kibosh on it, not because you suddenly decided that you were going to write this young, but you already knew. So you lied to us, you played Cavill, you played the audience, you screwed money out of us from a film that probably none of us would have gone to, as DC fans would have gone to see it. But that's basically the thrust of the argument. I don't know what the point of doing this is, by the way. I think, even as a diehard Zachariah, as I am, I love those films so much. Like, well, everybody who comes to here regular knows that I love those films. But you've got to realize that they're not going to listen anymore, unless it becomes such a thing where they're made to listen. I know that there's hashtagging events. There's one in March now, to make Netflix set up and take notice and all that kind of thing. But I actually don't know what Aaron Fisher is trying to achieve. And good luck to him. I think it's a great idea, because it keeps it. It's just the constant. The Zacharites are the constant thorn in the side of Warner Brothers. It's almost like they're holding their feet to the fire. Like, I think the vast majority of even the hardest core Snyder bros or Snyder bots or Snyder cultists, even some of the hardcore Snyder cultists were like fine with a reboot. Okay, we hate it. We love Gal, we love Henry, but reboot, all right, fine. We understand it's a bit of a convoluted mess. But what's really got to me and got to everybody else is, well, no, we're keeping Harley Quinn, and we're going to keep Peacemaker, and we're going to keep Amanda Waller, but we're not going to give you what you want, just the bits that I wrote, because I'm, and that's like, God, that's really driven the knife home. So we remain to see, I'm interested to see what happens with it, even if he does it. Yes, Ronnie Corbett, yeah. So it's a British reference from 1,000 years ago. Most people here won't get it. But yeah, so we remain to see what happens with that. Interesting times. Maybe it'll make Netflix set up and take notice. There was an article in Forbes that said, animated, give these idiots their 2 animated films. Just, it won't cost a lot, it'll cost some millions. It won't cost hundreds and hundreds of millions like these are live action. Give them that. There's your Snyderverse. There's your end of it. Please go away and leave us alone now. And I think that they would.
So you're saying there's a Forbes article that says that they should give us, what's the name of the Forbes article?
There's two Forbes articles about it. One from one perspective, one from the other perspective. Why an animated conclusion to Zack Snyder's Justice League would be a good idea, and one why it's a terrible idea. On Netflix or wherever it happened to be. And of course, obviously, I am 100% biased, and obviously I would love that. I'd love them to restore the whole thing, as you know. But I think what the guy was basically saying was, that Warner Brothers have a problem with this cult, because if you read on Reddit or whatever, the detractors, it's almost like a tiny, the Snyder cult, they seem to be like a tiny minority, and they're not important, and there's hardly any of them. It's like, and they're all bots. Well, I'm not a bot, and I do the hashtag spamming and all the rest. And there are millions of people out there that are doing this stuff, or at least hundreds of thousands, if not a million. There's a lot of people that are really, really invested in that universe, and they are allowed, but they're almost like social justice warriors. They're like a loud minority of people that just won't shut up about this, and there has to be some way of placating them. And for me, investing in an animated movie, because then you could have Ben Affleck do it, and he could be as heavy or as slim as he wants. You could have Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, and that she'll always be young and beautiful in the animated universe, and Henry Cavill will always be the way he is, and Batman will always be. Give them that, and then they can put it to bed forever. And you say, we gave you it. We gave you what you wanted. Perhaps not everything, but you got your Snyder cut. You've got your conclusion. Please let us get on with our universe. And I think everybody wins if they did that. But the other one saying, it costs too much money and there's not enough evidence that people are interested in this. And I would argue that Zack Snyder's Justice League stayed in the top 10 of the DVD and physical media charts for months and months and months and months and months when it came out. So there's clearly a demand for it. But I'm biased, and I'm fully aware of my own bias.
I think I'm not going to say they shouldn't make more animated shows or movies. I would never say that. What I think is interesting about this lawsuit is, what is their objective? Even though they did promise them something that they didn't, produce, and it's false advertising. What do you think is going to be the final outcome of this? Because it is a legitimate case. So what do you think, Russ, will be the outcome?
I don't know what his point is. I don't know why he's doing it. If only, I think it's like there's this new UFC thing, like Ultimate Slap or whatever it's called, where you get people standing opposite each other and they have to keep slapping each other into the face until somebody gives up or passes out or whatever it is. And what I felt, I really took it personally. I'm not gonna lie. When Gunn came out and said, well, no, it's not actually a total reboot. We're keeping Ezra Miller. We may keep Gal Gadot, or not having Henry Cavill. In fact, we're keeping everybody apart from Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck, because Ben Affleck don't really want to do it without Zack Snyder. And fuck Henry Cavill. That's what it sounded like to me. And it was really personal. It was like a slap in the face from James Gunn going, ha ha, I've got the power, you don't. Ha ha, I know this is what you want. You can't have it because I've got the power. And now it seems like this bloke is going, right, fuck you. This law has been passed. I'm going to slap you back. And it'll probably go nowhere. But it's got people talking. I had no idea you knew about it. So if you don't watch YouTube and you don't follow Aaron Fisher or Truth 31 or any of those Snyder Bros, Zachalites, how do you know? It's getting momentum. And the more momentum it gets, the higher up the YouTube algorithm it will go. The Midnight's Edges of this world will start talking about it. The drinkers of this world will start talking about it and pouring cold water on it because they hate the Snyderverse, whatever. Doesn't matter. People will be talking about it. And all Warner Brothers Discovery wants us to do is go, yay, James Gunn, yay, new universe. But no, you spat in our eye and now you're going to get it. And that seems to be pretty much what the Snyder fans are like. So no, I don't know where it will go. I don't know if it'll even be effective. I doubt very much it will go to court or anything like that. But I think if I was Aaron Fisher, my point would be to slap you back in the face and try and generate some momentum and try and get people talking about this, to let Warner Brothers Discovery know you've made a bad call and it's not too late to stop this or fix it. As Retro Nerd Girl is saying down here, an animated project would not satisfy the hardcore fans unless Zack gave his blessing for it. And he would probably have to, Retro. He would probably have to, because, Zack Snyder's not above a bit of trolling himself, right? So James Gunn comes out and says, no, Zack's really supportive of everything that we're doing. He's moved on. He's happy at Netflix doing his Rebel Moon. And then it comes up, sell the Snyderverse to Netflix. And what's Snyder doing? Personally liking all the things on Vero. He's stirring it up. So it's clear Snyder thinks that he has unfinished business there. It's clear Snyder thinks he's had a slap in the face as well. especially with the Cavill thing, because as soon as the Cavill thing happened, everybody knew that he would be back to do his Justice League 2 or 3 or whatever, and he would be back involved after Rebel Moon, probably finishing with a Kingdom Come or a Dark Side War or something like that. Oh, it's all so exciting. And you're absolutely right, though, Retro. The Snyder Bros, especially the real cultists, they're not going to stop until Zack Snyder says stop. They'll just keep going. And I've noticed a lot on Reddit and so on and so on. There's really there's people that just hate everything about Snyder, and they hate the fans and all the rest of it. And that's I don't know how much of a sizable group of people that is, but they've spent all this time lambasting people personally, tearing these films to shreds for no good reason, and now they're gonna get it back. Because you think they're going to sit still when Superman Legacy comes out and praise it as the great. No, they'll be coming after you. All the people that were slagging them off on Reddit and Twitter and Facebook and so on, it's coming back. They're waiting for it. They're waiting for it to fail, and this is not a good thing for as a DC fan. It's not a good thing. You know, not us united. It's literally we are not united. They need to do something to address this. Shut this toxic fan base up, rabid fan base up, dedicated fan base up, whatever you want to call it. It's a huge movement and it ain't going away, and they need to deal.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. Rogue Thinker says, I'm not a fan of how Snyder interpreted anything to do with Superman, though Batman was good, but the treatment of Cavill and the fans should have repercussions. It's very interesting. I think that's a very interesting a comment. And I've often heard people say that if you want to show your, support or lack of support for something, then don't support them financially. Do you think that's something that's going to happen? I mean, we saw what's happening or may happen with the D&D situation, which might be a little bit more, a different situation than this. Do you think people are going to kind of look at this lawsuit and interpret that as we need to stay away from the new movie? Or how do you think people are going to respond?
I imagine so. I imagine there'll be some of the Snyder cultists were idiots. They were like, well, we're not going to support Black Adam. That's Hamadaverse. And I was saying on a number of forums, don't be stupid. This is literally telling Warner Brothers you don't want this. And that was the message that they got, right? There's two schools of thought there, isn't there? Is James Gunn just spinning us a whole load of crap with these announcements of Waller and this, and I'm keeping this and I'm keeping that? From the Snyderverse because he kind of has to, because if he says, well, yeah, but we're getting rid of everybody after Flashpoint and there's nobody coming back, then you've got 2 years of lame duck movies, haven't you? That don't lead anywhere and don't do anything. So
Yeah,
you've got
I'm not convinced about the Waller series either. I think that was just done to satisfy maybe even something they felt they had to do. But there isn't anybody out there saying, I absolutely have to see a series for Amanda Waller. There isn't.
So there's nobody out there saying, I want to see Creature Commandos animated show either, is there? But, that seems to be fixated.
Not, but they're probably, you make a good point, but at least there's legitimate history behind those characters. Mm-hmm. I don't think Amanda Waller has her own run in a comic book series, does she?
I'm not. I don't quote me on that, but she's been very much part of the DC ether for so many years. She was a huge part of the animated universe, for example. So there's that side. Mm-hmm. Is this just studio bullshit? And like it come 2025, no, well those projects didn't quite work out. And here's now a new Superman,
but
which most people will sit still for.
Let me ask you this question: Who voices Amanda Waller in the animated series? Is it Viola Davis?
CH Pounder, CCH Pounder,
Chi Pounder. Mm. She's a famous actress. She's a famous actress, a very well-known actress in live action as well as voiceovers. And I like Chi Pounder. I think she's great. But I think a lot of this might have to do with Viola Davis and her, doing other roles and having more of a forefront role as a star. And then they decided to kind of like award her this role because she does happen to play that role in the movies. So I think,
and she's fantastic. Let's see, take nothing away from her. Take nothing away from Peacemaker. Take nothing away from Aquaman. It's not about that.
Yeah, my question is, I don't know anybody who says or has ever said, and it's okay that they haven't said it, but I absolutely have to see an Amanda Waller series. I have not heard anybody say that. So I'm wondering, where it's coming from. Like, why is it such a good idea to do that? She's great. She doesn't even need the series. A lot of times she's a standout character in the show, especially in Peacemaker, where she's kind of bossing them around. She's such a good boss lady.
Yeah.
Bossing them around. And it's like, and you're like, okay, we'll do what you say. And her daughter, of course, is one of the person she's bossing around, but that's what made it so interesting. I think she had a lot of that chemistry that we saw, in addition to her just being badass anyway, was because she had chemistry with that particular cast. So I understand what you're saying about the history about the animated series, but if it's a different person with a different voice, it's not quite the same. I think it all has to do with Viola Davis and her popularity right now.
You're probably right. They're trying to go for some cachet there. And as Rob my Burnett often says, like hardcore fans, or what either and whatever side of the Snyderverse debate you happen to be on, they only make up about 20% of the fan base, right? Let us say 15%, 22%. Who cares? It's not a vast amount until you start figuring in the long tail. Like Aaron Fisher went and saw Shazam, I think he says 5 or 6 times. Black Adam 5 or 6 times just to support the Cavill thing. People are going to go out and buy the hot toys. People are going to go out and buy the physical media. People are going to go watch it over and over again on HBO Max. They'll be encouraged, it's so good, you've got to watch it. That's what the fan base, the fandom brings you. And they also bring you the positive buzz about how great this movie is. And that's what WBD really needs is some positivity. And out of the gate, the fan base was coalescing. Oh, we got Henry back. Oh, okay, those films were shit, or those films were good, but we still got Henry, and everyone agrees he's marvelous, and everyone thinks Gal's marvelous, and everyone thinks Ben's marvelous. Let's just move forward with new stories and a new vision. Nah, we're not going to do that. There goes your fan base once again, split down the middle. The thread is this long on Reddit, people arguing about it. We're 10 years on from Man of Steel. They're still arguing.
I cannot look. I've decided that I'm still a little bit in denial. I'm a little bit closer to accepting that Cavill possibly may not come back as Superman. I haven't fully accepted it, and I'm going to stay in denial as long as I can, because I don't know what's going to happen over the next few years, since things have been so uncertain. We just don't know how the studio is going to happen. I mean, let's say hopefully Gunn does get to make his movies. I'd be happy for him, but it's been such an uncertain time, Russ.
Well, you're right, Arum. Gunn could be out next month. He could do or say something on Twitter or do something that just upsets them, and end of watch. See you later, James Gunn. Do you know what I mean? That's been such a revolving door at Warner Brothers Discovery. Warner Brothers. Some people are saying it could be sold off sooner than later because they're skint and they have no money and they haven't got the money to make these movies and shows and so on. So who knows? So you could be right.
And we've been seeing situations where there's financial collapses and people jumping out of windows because, they invested something in one thing and it didn't work out. And then they found out they couldn't sell something they had was of any value. And then a bunch of guys a whole bunch of executives have ended up having, unfortunately ended their lives, or their lives are over terrible. Because I never thought we would see anything like that nowadays, but there are investments like this, and there's a ton of them, and we don't know a lot about the financial disclosures. And there's a bunch of people working really hard to try and figure out the financial disclosures of some of these big corporations. But something, Russ, I think they do a good job with their analysis, but no one can predict when these things happen because nobody knows all the details, and we're not going to know all the details. We're not privy to it. And so it's so unpredictable in that regard. So I'm not as confident that the films will be made. For me, I feel as if the exaggeration or the declaration that those films will be made is the same when a few years ago, we saw Disney, I'm not going to say who it is, come out with a giant billboard of everything that was supposed to come out. And of course, we know that no studio on earth can do that. And so
it's kind of funny, isn't it? One by one, those Disney announcements are sort of getting crossed off, until you're sort of left with the Shoka and Book of Boba Fett. And that was about all that made it out of the gate in the end, wasn't it?
I think that's what we're going to end up with. Hello, Wex Luther.
Hey, Wex.
I think that's what we're going to end up with, to be honest with you, because I think they're going for too much too soon. And also they're cutting off stuff that's working, like the Titans. I think that show's worked. Maybe it's got a few more seasons in it, and that's it. But there was no reason to stop it now. Why stop something that clearly works? Like it's a fun, kind of creative, offbeat. Even the music to it is like very offbeat and kind of edgy. And I'm like,
Dun, dun, dun,
yeah,
dun. It's so cool. It's so metal.
yeah. Like I'm like, this is awesome. Like, and it's meant to be kind of knock you off of your seat of, this is not an ordinary show. We know it's not an ordinary show. We have aliens in the show. We have people who are doing all sorts of cool stuff in the show. We brought an entire city back to life after they were killed. Like, I'm like, yeah, this is kind of cool.
It's
You
really
don't see
comic book.
that.
It's really Snyderverse-y. I love it. It's really dark, like fuck Batman and all that stuff at the beginning. It's like it's so edgelord. It's trying so hard to be edgelord and succeeds. I love it. But sorry, our Retro says WBD WBD used fans to bring them to the theater, but had
Yes,
no intention of actually continuing the storyline.
yes.
That was deceptive. That's why Aaron is protesting. Do you watch him? Because I haven't seen him for a while, but he popped up in my stream, which is where I found out about this. And I haven't watched him for ages. And the fact that he popped up in my stream again says this is gathering momentum, and that's why people are pissed. Yes, yes, they are.
Absolutely. Cavantino Cavalier Mache, hi. Did anyone see Jake Gyllenhaal, what he did during the weekend with UFC regarding Roadhouse remake? All I heard was that he was talking about how he's been exercising and trying to get into fabulous shape. That's all I know, Cavantino Cavalier Mache, is that he's getting ripped and he looks great. And
Did
everybody's
he
talking
say
about how
something like,
he
I
looks.
need to get into Superman shape, or I need to get into
Yes,
Batman
he
shape?
did. Yeah, he said
Would
something like it was it Superman? He said he compared it to some other hero, but I don't remember which one. Maybe it
mm,
was Superman, or 300 shape or something.
mm.
Um, but everybody's been talking about how good he looks. Um, and he does look good. So, was there something else, Chaverman Che? Was there something else that he had said?
Yeah,
Uh,
fill us in, man, if you know, because I would say that there wouldn't be any controversy if he said I'm getting into good shape. But if he says, yeah, I'm getting into Superman shape, then it's like, oh, well, why did you say that? Because like he's 6'4", black hair, blue eyes. Yeah, perfect for Superman. Except how old is he?
Jake Gyllenhaal? I don't
Yeah,
know. He's over 40.
right. Henry Cavill's 39. So, oh right, yes, sub to Aaron Fisher. Yeah, because like I say, Retro, I haven't seen him for a while, but he popped up.
Rogue thing is like, so what are we positive about these days? Well, Grogu is back, and that's always a positive thing. But Picard season 3 as well. I've been watching it, Russ, and I've been enjoying it. Have you
Mhm.
been watching that show, Russ? Are you
Sorry, which one?
Picard season 3?
I was gonna, and I haven't. I've been commissioned to do something, and it's kind of like I've got a day job, and not much of a social life, it has to be said, but I do things every now and again, and I just haven't gotten around to it. Look, I've been remiss. I didn't even watch The Last of Us because because I should have watched it for today's show, but I figured that we would be talking about The Mandalorian and not so much about The Last of Us. But I must catch up on that as soon as I can.
Well, Rogue Thinker says Jake Gyllenhaal needs to get into Mysterio shape. I suppose so. It is just nice to hear people talking about shape. But probably the last thing that I wanted to mention was how well Creed was doing in the box office. I think they did around $50+ million over the weekend. Creed 3, starring Jonathan Majors, who I think is absolutely fantastic, as well as why can't I remember this man's name? He's so popular, Michael
Michael
P.
B. Jordan.
And to be honest with you, I'm not surprised it's done well. Uh, you know, Jonathan Majors is on a roll by starring in so many films recently, just really. But Michael P. Jordan also has shown how amazing he is. He's been in Wakanda Forever recently, as well as starring in this film. And people are talking about it. Do you know anybody who's seen Creed, Russ?
No, but I've got to get my ass out and see it. I really liked the Creed movies, and I'm not so excited for this one without Sylvester Stallone in it. But I am intrigued. I really want to see what he's like as a director. I really want to see where Donny Creed is in his life at the moment. Because I saw him in a suit, and is he retired now, and is he making a comeback? Yeah, I don't know. I literally know nothing, and I will avoid everything until I go to the cinema with my daughter Sam and see it.
Well, Russ, you and I are going to do a PGS moving image of the Creed series, the 3 films. I kind of wanted to wait until you saw this last film, this one that just came out, before we did a second part for,
Mhm.
I guess, the continuation of Rocky spinoff Creed movies. We did the first 5 Rockies. So much fun doing that review, and I'd love to get your opinion on the this part of the IP, which is obviously Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors. They play 2 characters where one, I guess, took the fall for another, and now he's like, hey, um, it's it's payback time. You owe me. And I think it was very interesting to see the two of the men there. They were incredible physical condition.
Yeah, look at Michael B. Jordan. He's a good-looking bloke, isn't he? Jesus.
Yeah, they just look amazing. I think that $58 million is not anything to. It's really a good amount in this environment for a movie that I think a lot of people can will enjoy, but also can relate to from the subject matter. Certainly, if you want to see these two incredible actors and their incredible physical conditioning, this is going to be a feast for the eyes. Jonathan Majors coming off of Magazine Dreams, where he plays someone who wants to be a bodybuilder, and of course, Devotion from last year.
Mm.
These guys are heavies here, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see how their careers go. I hope they have more just people who attended it, but maybe they don't have a lot of these are just the premiere photos. But I just think it's very interesting. It says Adonis has been thriving in both his career and family, but when a childhood friend and former boxer prodigy resurfaces, the face-off is more than just a fight. Here, so far, it's got a 7.5. Not that that would have any effect over what I think about it,
Mhm.
but I think it's very interesting. Oh, okay. Have you seen it, Stavros? Have you seen it? Wow. Interesting. It was fantastic. No words more. Okay. Okay. Wow. Okay, cool. Um, yeah, so I know when you and I see it, Russ, and we are going to review it. We are going to talk about it here on Positive Fandom as well. But it's going to be very interesting to see what you think of it, Russ, especially since I know you are such a big fan of the series.
Who asked earlier on what have we got positive to talk about? I think it was Rogue. So yes, I'm excited to see Creed 3. Yes, I'm excited to see Mission Impossible. I'm loving Spartacus at the moment. I'm very positive about that. I'm looking forward to the new Spartacus series. But it's a fairly quiet time on the sort of on the big tentpole horizon. You know, we've just got to wait for what Shazam, Fury of the Gods is coming. And I'm on Shazam, to be honest with you. I'm looking forward to the Flash. That looks like it's going to be really, really good. I just want to see what they do with it, and I'm not going to hate watch it. Let's just put it that way. And then we'll see with Aquaman. I was a bit cold on the first Aquaman. I just thought it was a Marvel movie, and that's not what I want from my DC. But we'll see. Yeah, so some good things to look forward to, and some not so good things to look forward to, I would guess.
Absolutely, guys. So, without further ado, it has been a little bit. Yeah, you're right, Russ. It's a little quieter week for entertainment. The Oscars will be on next Sunday. I will be hosting a watch party here on Positive Fandom. I will be doing watch party for The Last of Us. I think will be the last episode. There's a second to the last episode tonight, right here on Positive Fandom, and then the last episode I'm going to do on Monday because it's at the same time as the Oscars, and I can't do two at the same time. So
Right, so we'll cover that then. So it'll be finished by this time next week, will it?
it will be, but no, the week after.
No, okay, so we'll cover it. We'll do a roundup of the week after, then I guess.
Yes, absolutely. And then, of
Wicked.
course, Card and The Mandalorian are still continuing. I'm doing live watch parties on my channel for Mando and on the Burnettwork for Picard.
Mhm,
I did a live watch party over the weekend for Megan
mhm.
with Lorena on the Burnettwork. It was fantastic. I also am doing a live watch party with her on the 18th for a movie called Smile, which is another
It's a
horror
horror
film.
movie, right? Yeah.
And what else is going on? Monday, I have Ladies of the PGS with Lorena as well. We do our Toxic Male Appreciation Show on Thursdays. You can catch me on the Burnettwork, of course, and on the 1/6 Scale Man Network, and also Lorena's channel. Russ, where can people find you?
Uh, Normally here on a Sunday, and if you want to get hold of me, you can look me up at russellwhitfield.com or contact at russellwhitfield.com. But more importantly, where can people find you, RM?
Right here, obviously, on Positive Fandom, on the Burnettwork, late Lorena Creole's channel also, and of course on the 1/6 Scale Man Network. Guys, thank you so much for your support as always, everybody. Tom Jr. Jackson, we are all goof people. Also check out Tom Jr. Jackson's YouTube channel. I didn't see the link here, Tom, but please do go ahead and put your link in here. Guys, I hope you have a wonderful week. Yes, Smile sounds positive. It's a horror film. It's a horror film. We're doing kind of these horror Saturdays at 5 o'clock on the Burnettwork, where we are looking at horror films. So it's going to be going forward a lot of horror films that we think are pretty significant and kind of interesting to look at. So as well as, guys, follow Russ Whitfield right here. You can see his link here. You can contact him here on Positive Fandom. Russ and I are going to be doing a Spartacus PGS moving image coming up. So that's going to be a fantastic episode as well. I can't wait to see that, how that's going to play out, because it's going to, I have a lot of Spartacus episodes to catch up on, Russ.
It's addictive.
Well, I do just want to thank everybody for showing up today. I certainly do appreciate it. And guys, remember, no matter where you are in the galaxy, always do remember to please be kind.
Thanks so much, everyone. Cheers, cheers. Bye bye now.
Bye.